freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your recap episode for this week's Genesis Invitational. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here. Hello, Patrick.
Gentlemen, happy Sunday. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Mark, I see that you got into Rickie Fowler's wardrobe with a little camouflage.
Hey, Patrick, what are you doing? You're in a Harry Higgs there with the buttons undone. Don't get off the button.
I'm in Florida, man. I mean, it gets weird down here. I'm going to TGL tomorrow, so I'm feeling good. I'll button up when I have to.
Yeah.
We are off to the races. Yeah, Patrick got a little sun, didn't you, while you're down there in Florida? You got a little tanning.
I've not put on sunscreen yet. I'm typically get super red early base layer and then let the tan come after that.
Oh, good. I'm not sure that's advised, but that's okay. Mark Immelman has already made his voice appearance. Hello, Mark.
Hi, boys. Yeah, I'm doing my Rickie Fowler with a camo hat. Camo get up.
Oh.
Yeah, I got it. You know, all black on Sunday. You know the rule, but we're mixing it up just a touch. Yeah, to finish the West Coast.
Just a little bit of a variation on the all black. Greg DuCharme rounds out our crew for today. Gregors, hey buddy.
Gentlemen, what a week. Patrick, I love the get up. You're in for a marathon day tomorrow. Are you going to all three?
Absolutely not.
Matches?
Absolutely not.
Do it.
What?
No, I'm going to the 1 p.m. show. So no Ludvig, unfortunately.
That's the Atlanta Drive versus LA Golf Club.
Yeah, so we get Electric Factory Patrick Cantlay, which I'm looking forward to.
Yes, indeed, you do. We'll talk about that some other time because, gentlemen, we've got to talk about this electric finish at the Genesis Invitational. I'm just going to start at the top of the board because a round of 66 and 6 under par crowns, oh yes, Ludvig Aberg, our champion for the Genesis Invitational, now twice a winner on the PGA Tour, 3 wins worldwide. And Greg, I'm going to start with you. The way that he finished this golf tournament after stumbling a little bit early was impressive. He made back-to-back bogeys on 4 and 5, but he made birdies on 7, 9, all 3 of 13, 14, and 15. And then when he stood on the 18th green, 6 feet 9 inches away, tied for the lead, he rolled that one into to seal the deal.
This was phenomenal. And you think about Ludvig Aberg, the first thought is, well, this is the kind of golf course he could absolutely dominate on. This is something I remember last year being really high on Ludvig at Torrey Pines and also a Bay Hill. Felt like his game suits those kind of golf courses where you got to be really solid tee to green like Ludvig is. And then, you see him at the Farmers this year and he gets off to a great start and then gets sick. And so we lose a little bit of touch with him as far as where his game is because there's that kind of hanging over everything. So where is he health-wise? Well, he clearly is very healthy and clearly very good. But there's one other factor that I was watching for closely today, and that was Ludvig's Sunday performance, which, again, this year, because of the sickness, you give him a little bit of a pass, but he struggled. But I'm thinking back to last year. Some of these places where you think Ludvig would play great, it's 74 on Sunday at the Memorial, 73 Sunday at the U.S. Open, 71 at the Travelers, 73 at the Scottish, 72 at the Olympics on Sunday, 72 at the RBC Heritage as well. He had some struggles on Sundays. And when he went through that little stretch, 4, 5, and I would include 6 in that, the par 5, where he was greenside in 2 and unable to get up and down, it was looking like things maybe were going the wrong way for him. And he flipped a switch and absolutely turned it on in all facets of the game. It was just spectacular to watch. You think about that tee shot on 18, way down the fairway, right in the middle. When he needed a birdie, the hole gets so much easier playing from the fairway, and that's what he was able to do.
Yeah, 317 down the center of the center on 18. Mark, I know you were with Rory and Scottie for most of the day, but you were able to get to Ludvig there late. And I want to know if anything that he did over the final couple of holes looked any different than a Thursday morning round at the John Deere.
Well, no, but first I'd like to set it up with, I had him on Saturday afternoon. And before the round, we chatted a little bit on the practice facility. And I was like, so how are you doing? And he goes, remember when we talked before Friday, I think it was, for the Farmers Insurance Open? I'm like, yeah, you didn't look very well, because he didn't want to shake my hand. And he goes, after that warm-up, I went and threw up. And he goes, and then I was sick the entire weekend. Then I was feeling sick at Pebble and lost all that weight. And he says, for the first time here, I'm actually feeling, somewhat strong. And he had lost 10 pounds, but it certainly didn't diminish from the strength, because out of the rough on Saturday, because I had him for 14 holes or something, he only hit like 3 fairways. And they were two-sided misses. They were all over the show. And he's just got the strength and the steepness of the swing plane to be able to advance himself from this heavy rough, because it was dangerous if you were playing out of the rough some. And yeah, he made the hole in one, but on a very difficult day, when par was a heck of a score Saturday, he cobbled together 2 under, playing from the rough all day long. Then I felt like today the tour officials kind of set up the course a little bit more for scoring. Lots of front hole locations, lots of holes where the ball would sort of want to feed to the flag a little bit. So it was there to be had. And look, he was like Ludvig Aberg again. He hit the ball squarely. The thing was flighted like you can't believe, through the wind. And just emblematic of who he was on 18, he gets up there and just bludgeons the driver down the middle. No messing around. Then he's in between clubs, I thought, because he carries a 7-wood. And I saw by the club selection off the upsloping lie, he and Joe were like, this thing's not going in the water. And he hit the sliding sort of a cut shot in there. So it went from big high draw to big high fade on the green, 2 putts to win. And I was like, yep, this is the guy we've all been lauding. So sort of to your question, yeah, he looks like the star we're all talking him up to be. Of that, I have no doubt. He's got it all. If there's anything he just needs to tighten up, and we saw it this today, was if he makes his share of putts, he's going to contend. Because if there is a fissure, I think it's some streakiness on the greens. But the guy, man, his mindset is like singular. He is myopic when he's on the golf course. He's almost Tiger-esque in a way. But nothing phases him. He's all relaxed and will smile and stuff. But when he's over the ball, it's aim, fire, go and play it again. And it was actually, I know I only saw like four holes or something today, and then 14 yesterday. It's a joy to watch, even when he's not at his best.
It's a joy to watch on television. It's a joy to watch from all perspectives. And Patrick, Mark is right. I thought that the performance from Ludvig looked strong. He did not hit every fairway, but the fairways that he did miss, he was able to get it out of the rough, advance it, give himself an opportunity. The short game was savvy enough, and he made those meaningful putts on a weekend where we saw Rory McIlroy have the worst putting weekend of his career, where we saw Scottie Scheffler, especially on Saturday, really struggle with some high leverage putts. I don't want to call them high pressure putts, but high leverage putts, the ones that change the outcome of the event, whether it's a 6-footer for par or an 11-footer for birdie. Those were the ones that Ludvig was rolling in on Sunday.
Yeah, and he had some troubles even this week with some of those 4 to 8 footers. It seemed like he had a number of chances, and I thought today was a super impressive round due to his patience. You look at that front 9, a lot of guys were going berserk on that. You have McNealy running downhill, you have Scheffler running downhill, and Aberg, after a good start, obviously with 2 birdies in his first 3, he's even through 6 and doesn't take advantage of the easiest hole on the golf course, and then he just plots his way along. Rick, we were on HQ to mention, I mentioned that HQ together, I mentioned that he needed to take advantage of some of those easy holes. Well, then he makes birdie on the par 5 9th. He does again on 13, finds the surface in 2. And then obviously the one late there on 15 that kind of tied him for the lead. So I was really impressed with his patience today, because it felt like there was a lot of scoring to be done on that front side. And he kind of did it the opposite way and got it done on the backside when there was a little crack in the door when McNealy hit that wedge into the bunker there and made bogey. He just slid on through and left no doubt.
Yeah, the other thing, Greg, is he played the par threes this week. Obviously, he made the ace. That goes a long way. But he played him at like 9 under. Is that right? 9
under.
That's right.
So the ace only, that only
5
gets
clear of anybody else.
That only gets you 2, right? I was gonna say that's lapping the field, and we usually see these big burly, like, take apart the fives. That's how Tiger did it. That's how DJ and Rory McIlroy, and like they're gonna take apart the fives. Ludvig took apart the threes this week. That is scary, scary stuff.
Not a single bogey on him. So 7 twos and a 1. When you put that on the card for the week, that's pretty impressive. And it does speak to some phenomenal iron play, which even aside from the par threes, he was really good around that 150 yard mark. He's got something like a 8 iron or 9 iron in his hands. He was laser sharp. He knows where to aim it. He knows where to hit it. He knows how to give himself looks. And that area of his game has been good in his career. Very good. But I thought this week it was exceptional.
Gosh, Greg, you're talking about Saturday with the ace, right? So he makes the 1 on 3, and he makes 2 on 8, and then he makes 3 on 11. Gosh, what are we thinking? Also hard. And on 16, we get there, and it's playing into this chilly breeze, and it's like 225, and he hits 4 iron. And the flag's back left from the tee. They were using that left teeing ground. It looked like it was barely on the green. And he squares this thing up, and it just climbs and cuts through the wind in there to about 15 feet, and he makes it. And we walk behind there sort of towards 17T. I'm like, dude, you got these par threes figured out. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, I had no idea. And then Joe told me I was like 8 under par for the par threes so far. and it's just like he had this childish sort of like, it's so much fun thing about him. But the 4 iron he hit was biblical. And then just quickly, from my point of view, when we joined him after I'd been done with Rory and Scottie, we picked him up on 16. He fizzes his 5 iron in there under the flag, perfect. A difficult par 3. And I looked at my on-course colleague, Tyler, and I'm like, this guy's win. I'm like, what's he score? And he goes, he's tied for the lead. I'm like, he's going to win. I was convinced the guy was going to finish with a birdie coming in. And we thought it might happen on Thursday, on 17. In the end, it turns into 18. But just the way he looked, it's like nothing was going to deny him that. And he was giving off this vibe where I was like, yeah, this boy's winning. Of this, there's no doubt.
No doubt, indeed. 700 FedEx Cup points, $4 million, and a brand new set of expectations less than 2 months out from our first major championship of the year. I want to talk about the way that Sunday played out, because it did not always look like Ludvig was going to win. In fact, the only moment he had sole possession of the lead this entire week was when he made the putt on the 72nd hole. So there was a lot of moving and shaking this weekend, especially on Sunday. I want to get to a lot of that, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. A 16 beats a 1 from sweet to elite to the Final Four.
And we're back. Just 3 under par the last time we potted. That was Friday night. Maverick McNealy shot rounds of 68 and 64 on the weekend and had one hand on the trophy, Patrick, because he got off like a firecracker. He birdied 5 straight from 2 through 6. He had another birdie streak from 9 through 11. He attached one more to the card at 13, but he played his final 5 at 1 over. This was looking like Maverick McNealy's second victory in the course of a few months. Still going to be a solo second, but how do you view this weekend from Maverick?
It's tough, right? Because if you told him you shoot 64 today, he's probably going to take that. But you had a really good chance to win this golf tournament coming down the stretch, and some bad breaks there, obviously. And I mean, the round, you didn't even mention his par on number 1, Rick, from 40 feet.
Yeah.
To get it all going. And then
the par on 17 to keep it all in check.
Yeah. The par on 17 was sweet, but it looked like he was just swinging so freely all day today. It was awesome to watch. And then when you get McNealy like that with his putter, the one on 11 was just an added bonus. I thought he was going to roll in the one on 12 too, just burn the edge there. 13, the fairway wood into there was so free flowing and so easy, it seemed like. And after that drive on 14, was it right? 15, my holes are off. 14, little laser down there. I'm like, oh, this guy's just going to add another birdie to his scorecard. And it was a really kind of shocking shot. Saw JT's shot before him, went a little bit long, but still on the green, and he dumped it short there in the bunker, and then dumped it to like 15 feet and wasn't able to make it. And then you mentioned 17 as well. I saw your tweet about it. He's been blowing it right all week.
All career. His whole career, he's done that. He has hit it. So on 17, left is like what, the only place with OB on the, or a hazard, I guess 4, but you just can't be left on 17. And right is where the food trucks are, the concessions. It's matted down, it's wide open. He for years just blasts it right. And he actually got unlucky because this time he
got boned.
Hit a fan. He's usually not playing with this big of a gallery. Hit a fan, and it kind of went down into a really awkward spot where he didn't have a crack it. But that was the plan, was to hit it there.
Yeah, and then I mean, in all-time par, great par save from there. The second shot from his position, probably a little lucky just to get it back in the semi-rough, it looked like. But the drive on 18, you got to find a way to give yourself a chance to go for that green in 2. And unfortunately, he didn't. Unfortunately, the birdie putt from 15 feet just slid by too. But I mean, you have to be a very happy camper for McNealy with how good that iron play was, knowing how good of a putter you are. And if that continues with some of the swing changes that he's going through, would not be surprised if he wins this year.
Yeah. So he was looking to become the first player to fly himself to the tournament and win since I assume Arnold Palmer, but Greg, I wanted to mine into some of the stuff that Patrick was referring to. Maverick McNealy's entire career has been a phenomenal putter. There is no doubt about that. He still is. Remember, he missed, I guess it was 2 seasons ago, he missed like almost the entirety of the year with the back injury, and he started missing time in Phoenix, and just like it took him a long time to get healthy. Ever since he got back, we have started to see these slow and steady tee to green improvements, and he is so much better now. He was second in the field in strokes gained approach this week. That is becoming not that many strokes, but it's becoming more of a norm than an outlier. So he's unlocking a different part of his game that we have not necessarily seen in his career.
He's kind of been like in the strokes gained approach category, a usual loser. He would finish inside the top 5, losing strokes approaching the green sometimes. It was not an area of strength for him at all. He had some good weeks here and there, but really, I mean, well outside the top 100 every year of his PGA Tour career until this year. And now you've seen since the RSM Classic, he's only lost strokes on approach once. So that's 7 events, 6 out of 7 events now. He's gaining significant strokes like this week where you mentioned that he was second in the field. I mean, this run early after the par putt from 40 feet at 1, the longest birdie he made on the front 9 was like 13 feet. These were set up by really solid approach shots. And what's impressed me is it's not just wedges. He hit a lot of wedges like Ludvig did, a lot of short irons and wedges in there close. But when he gets a long iron in his hand or a fairway wood in his hand going for the green, it doesn't change. So he has to be ecstatic about the changes that he's making, and he has to know that it's heading in the right direction. And now this is a pretty darn complete player. And that opens up possibilities for winning on golf courses like this, which if you can contend and win on a golf course like this, well, that means that you could probably do it in a major championship as well, which is, I know it was only one PGA Tour event, but this is a different guy than the guy that didn't win all those other times before the RSM.
His best major championship finish is a T23 at last year's PGA Championship at Valhalla. Since returning from Japan in the fall, Mark, Maverick McNealy hasn't missed a cut. Finished T6 in Mexico, T17 in Bermuda. He won the RSM Classic. Then he started off 2025 with a T8 at the Century. I'll cherry pick a couple of other finishes, a T9 in Phoenix, and now a runner-up here at the Genesis. He is clearly taking the next steps in the evolution of his game.
Yeah, and you guys have talked about the work he's done. I mean, you've got to hand some credit to Scott Hamilton. You know, Maverick hooked up with him a little while back. I think it might be almost a year and a half now, because Maverick had been working with Butch Harmon, who's like the swing whisperer. But he took the risk and he went to Hamilton, and they've really tightened things up. And to Greg's point, you know, to me, if you want to contend on tour, length is an advantage. But if you're a good iron player and you can putt, then you're pretty well on your way, because if you had quality irons and your proximity is decent, you're going to make your share. And you talk of those results this year in the 5 events, now it's 6 that he's played. There's only one event that he was over par. And strangely, that was at this venue for the Farmers Insurance Open. Over par then, he still made the cut, played 4 rounds. But he was 23 under at the Century, he was 7 under in Hawaii, 8 under at Pebble Beach, and then 14 at Phoenix. So he's got himself in the mix all the time. And what people I don't think realize about him, because you mentioned Maverick McNealy and people say, oh, well, you know, dad's a multi-millionaire and he's kind of got the silver spoon in the mouth. And then they're like, got a great short game and he putts well. Sure. I don't think people realize how long he is off the tee as well. It's a sneaky sort of flat ball flight that goes a long, long way. And so I'm on board with Greg. You know, the way it's shaping up and the confidence he's playing with, he's fulfilling all that promise he showed when he was at Stanford as a collegian, where he's like, he's contending in big tournaments at difficult golf courses. And yeah, I think the next step for him is more wins as he builds himself to, you know, a few big challenges, perhaps in the major championships and such.
Excellent weekend here. In fact, 68-64. My math says that's 132, 130. So I beat Ludvig Aberg on the weekend. But obviously they don't give out trophies for just 2 rounds. The number 1 player in the world, Patrick Scottie Scheffler, did not play like the number 1 player in the world. His lofty standards that he has set for himself made him look like a darn fool this week, because he stunk. He was horrible. He couldn't hit a fairway. He couldn't putt. He shot the worst round on Saturday. He's a loser. Oh, he finished T3. This guy's pretty good at golf.
Flip that, Josh, before Rick says he finishes T3. Yeah, no, I mean, on Friday, he hit 5 fairways and was bogey-free, shot 5 under. And then going into Saturday, he talked about it after his round today, where he didn't like his attitude going into it, where it almost felt like he became result-oriented, and Scottie Scheffler has been the guy who's been preaching process these past few years. And so he was bummed out about his perspective on the round, shot 76, highest round of the day, and then came back today, improved it by 10. But like you mentioned, Rick, it was not the clean-cut Scottie Scheffler that we've been used to the past couple of years. And it just goes to show you his C game probably this week, and to still have a chance on the back 9 to win this golf tournament. No 5s on the scorecard today. He had 3 6s yesterday, so much improved there. But you have to remember, this guy's coming off a hand injury, procedure on it. He didn't get the reps at the Century, the American Express too, and so he's given himself some grace. He said afterwards, like, hey, guys, I'm not Tiger Woods. I can't win right off of surgery like him. I'm going to need a little time to knock some rust off. So he hasn't been winning a ton in California throughout his career. I don't think he has a win in California. So I know February through April is kind of his time. Just wait till the API, guys. Just a little patience, you know?
Yeah, just a little bit of patience. I understand. Well, Scottie Scheffler, Greg, and I think what the final leaderboard won't really demonstrate is how wide open this golf tournament was. I mean, it was for a lot of the day, you know, Patrick Rogers and Denny McCarthy, who started in that final group, they were kind of holding space at the top of the leaderboard, 11 under, 10 under par. But everyone was lining up behind them if they were going to come back. Now, they did come back. So there was a lot of jockeying. So when Scottie Scheffler birdie 2, 5, 6, 7, and 9, turning in 31. He was firmly in this championship. Now it didn't finish that way, but this is by no means some backdoor T3 or anything like that.
No. When he finished the front 9 after making birdie on 9, he was in a tie for second. It might have gotten to third. Someone might have been at 9, but I think he was tied for second at one point for sure. And he made another birdie at 13, and he's really still very much in it. He's, Maverick McNealy, by the time he got to 13, was starting to make some birdies, but you just got a sense if Scottie could make an eagle at the last or something, if he could have made birdie at 17 or get up and down on 16, things would have been a little different. 16, this is the one thing I noticed with Scottie. It was less this week than last week, but a lot more iron shots missed to the left than normal. Some long and left too, which is just the ball not fading the way that he's expecting. So that's like the human side, where there's actually been a little error, a little thing to clean up in the results of his shots. And what's amazing to me and what's so impressive is that he can have a flaw like that in his game and still finish tied third. Right? It's a sign of how good his short game is, how good he is all around, and how many opportunities he gives himself. So very impressive to come back and sort of fix the day from Saturday, which is just extremely, extremely disappointing. I also agree with Patrick. We start going to Bay Hill. He tunes that swing up just a little bit, gets back into the process. Look, this is where guys that hit it really well and may struggle on the greens tend to do really well in Florida when we get onto those Bermuda greens. The pool tables a lot smoother than what we've seen on the West Coast swing. So I think the number of like winning 10 PGA Tour events this year is probably out of the question at this point.
Probably out of the question.
Probably, yes. Not definitely.
Come on, have more conviction than that, Greg, on your preseason prediction.
You're backpedaling, Greg.
I am backpedaling a little bit, unfortunately.
To 9.
To 9. That's the most he can get this year. But there's still 4 majors, so the Grand Slam's still in play.
That's right. The lefts were obvious, Mark, both off the tee and on some of these approaches, as Greg mentioned. Now, he was able to pull a lot of Houdinis this week, a couple of chip-ins, including one from the greenside bunker on 15 for birdie, and just his ability to get back into position quickly is second to none on the PGA Tour. But it's clear that he was still, I shouldn't say still, it was clear that he was working through some things this week.
Yeah, he's not there, clearly. The Scottie Scheffler I know, the Scottie Scheffler I've watched play in call, he never really moves backward. And the backwards move on the back 9 yesterday afternoon on Saturday was, it's like his evil twin took over. But the guy I saw play today, when he made the soft bogey on the 11th, where he looked very perturbed, he just missed it off the edge of the green on the left-hand side, and was over the ball making practice swings. Took him about, a good minute and a half before he played. And he'd look up and there was someone bothering or something, get back down. The next thing, he dubs it in front of himself about 3-4 feet, then nearly chips in but makes bogey. And I'm like, this is unlike Scottie coming off the little run he's been on when he's turned in 31. Then he makes a birdie on 13, good save on 12 before then. And the birdie on 13, you're like, okay, we're on our way now. And then it's not that they were left, but then on 14, he's driven it down the fairway, which to me was the hardest part of the hole. And then he's only got like 140 yards or so to a back right hole location. On most days, that's wedge for him, not even a hard wedge. And he's trying to go down the shaft on a 9-iron. And for a good player, when you're trying to slow down through contact over there, if the body quits moving, quits rotating, that face is shutting down. And he hit the thing long left, very lucky to get out there with 4. And I remember saying to a colleague, I'm like, well, if there ever was a chance that he's now going to win, now he's got the chance. And all of a sudden there, same thing on the next hole, got plenty of club with 6-iron from 170 something. Granted, it was into the wind some, but Scottie, I know, just drills the thing up in the air and fades it off the flag to about 15 feet. He doesn't have a short side himself. He holds out from the bunker, and I'm like, all right, now this might be his day, right? Because 2 really poor shots have gotten rewarded, and he's 1 under. And then there on 16, it was the right club, but they made a poor swing. But I was just flummoxed by the fact that he gets a decent bunker shot to like 6 feet and misses the hole by about 1.5 inches on the right. And everyone knows at this golf course that the stuff sort of breaks towards the ocean, which was to his right, even though there was some right to left slope. So I think I'm summarizing my diatribe here with there's still a little rustiness going on. Yeah, the golf swing could use a little ironing out, and that's easy for him because I asked him about it, and he's like, well, I'm just checking my alignment and my grip. So it's never anything big. And I'm sort of with Greg, as if to say, well, yeah, now he's got some tournaments under his belt around hard golf courses. He's been in the mix. He knows what it feels like again. He's got something he can work on clearly. And now when he goes down to Florida, he's been somewhat successful at Bay Hill and on good greens. Rory and him today, I was going to bet like who's going to misread putts the worst. Because between the two of them, Scottie made his share, but I'm like, gosh, man, they were missing holes by a long way. So when he gets there on Bay Hill, yeah, I think it's going to be all game on again.
All right, well, hang on to that Rory stuff. I'm going to come back to you on that. So we're going to go rapid fire here. One guy for each of you. I'm going to pick out a couple of notables. And Patrick, you're going to get your namesake. People don't remember you're named after Patrick Rogers. So that is who you are going to get here. He was in that final pairing with Denny McCarthy for the vast majority of the week. He was nearly flawless, and he kind of had to be, right? I know he dunked one in the water on Saturday on 18. He ended up getting out of there rather unscathed, but he was probably going to have to play pretty perfect golf. We talked about it on HQ before he teed off that he was going to have to hit a lot of fairways. He was going to have to hit a lot of greens. He was going to have to lean on that putter. 9 out of 14 on fairways, 13 out of 18 on greens and regulation. Did not hit many of them close. Did not putt particularly well.
No, but I'm happy he got himself to the back 9 in the mix, because that birdie on 9 I thought was big, and then he just got caught up in the really tough part of the golf course. It happens, right? You make a bogey on 11, you make a bogey on 12. Everyone else is running downhill. You don't take advantage of the par 5 13th, and all of a sudden you blink and you're 3 shots back. It kind of just happened pretty quickly out there for these guys. I mean, like, even for Maverick, it happened really fast. Ludvig just came out of nowhere almost with 4 birdies in his last 6. So I thought it was honestly a pretty solid performance, even though he didn't hit it too close. So another close call, I guess, for him. Another good experience for him, I guess. But I'm not like too down on the performance, honestly.
No, I thought it was a great week, but I do think that he is getting a little sick of good experiences.
Yeah, obviously. They all are.
Yeah, they all are. They all are. Patrick Rogers tied for 3rd, and the winless drought on the PGA Tour continues. Same story for Denny McCarthy. Not as many starts, though, Greg, also in that final group, though he gave a jolt to this leaderboard because he parred his first 4 holes, birdied 5, eagled 6. And I believe in that moment, he was in the lead by himself. You can correct me on that, but there was a lot of shuffling there. He immediately gave one of them back on 7 and then kind of stalled out. Bogeys on 12, 17. He made a birdie on 18, but by then it was much too little, much too late. We were already on HQ crowning Ludvig Aberg. So Denny also still looking for that first victory, played really well this week, ends up finishing tied for 5th.
Yeah, after the bogey on 7, he started missing fairways. And for Denny McCarthy on this golf course playing from the rough, it gets really difficult. And so he wasn't able to give himself very many looks. He had some awkward lies, some odd spots, some near the edges of bunkers. He was around those bunkers all day, which can get hairy. You can get some weird stances, and it can be really difficult, really challenging to get it into the right section of these greens. And so Denny wasn't able to do that today. And then there were a couple instances where he gave himself a 6 to 8 footer for par. And that's the unfortunate thing, is they were for par. So now your back's up against the wall, and he let a couple of those slide by. So he didn't have the typical Denny McCarthy putting performance. But ultimately, under this kind of pressure, being in the final group, an opportunity to win, he wasn't really able to lean on his putter during this round because he didn't hit it the way he's capable of. He put himself in the rough too many times. And, this is kind of strange because you look at Torrey Pines on Sunday, you've just played it for 3 days. You're sitting at 7 under par and you're in the last group. You're thinking pars are good. But on this day, you needed to make some birdies. You really needed to go play aggressive. So earlier in the week, Denny McCarthy missed a lot of fairways as well and was able to get around the golf course and make a lot of pars and put himself in the final group. But Sunday, when it was time you got to go shoot 68 to win this thing or better, he didn't give himself enough opportunities to do that, unfortunately.
He did not. Another good experience, another good week. Trophy still remains absent. Plenty of trophies for Rory McIlroy, Mark, but this was an ugly weekend. So from a statistical standpoint, it was the worst putting weekend of his career, defined by rounds 3 and 4. He lost about 6 shots to the field. His Sunday final round was bookended by bogeys, a bogey on 1, a bogey on 18. There were only 2 birdies throughout the day, 13 and 15. You alluded to the misreading of putts. He hit a lot of lips throughout the weekend. Nothing dropped. Did you think that was more about the read than the execution?
Yeah, I think so. Look, the bogey on 18, we didn't show it, but he was in the fairway bunker and he had like 220 over water. And it was Rory with 4-iron. When he pulled it, I looked at my colleague and I'm like, he's just trying to hit it to prove to himself that he can pull it off. And he skinned it some and hit it in the water. So it was sort of a soft bogey because, I think if he's in contention, then he may go after it or he may lay it up and wedge it close and maybe make 4 the hard way. But as far as it goes with Rory, I spent a lot of time with him in warm-ups today. And he was pretty candid about his golf swing and how he feels like it's simplified and he's really happy with where things are. And I said to him, I'm like, I love the softer, the off-speed approach shots. And he goes, yeah, it's just, that's so far against my natural tendency, though. He goes, but I'm sticking to it. So I look at Harry and I'm like, so do you battle him on this thing? And he goes, Mark, I've been trying for like 8 years. So they're both on board with like, when Rory takes some speed away, then he gets a bit more control of the irons. And we've seen him hit a lot better iron shots over the last few weeks. But as far as the putting goes, I feel like today was a function of he's playing with Scottie. He's won last time he played. He wants to make a bit of a statement. He blows one right off the tee in the fairway bunker, hits it through the back of the green, makes an early bogey. And as long as I was with him, it almost looked like he was trying to force the issue a little too much, as opposed to allowing the rounds to come to him like he did at Pebble, where it's like hit the ball in the right place and let the putter be the star. And so as long as Scottie's going crazy, Rory is now trying to make sure that I stamp my authority on this thing too. Now, if you ask him, he may see something different. That's just what I got from it. But then all of a sudden on like 13, well, there's 2 fantastic shots into 12 and 11 for that matter. But 13, he makes a really good up and down out of the sand for birdie. And it's like someone just unlocked the spigot. And then from there, he just flushed it on the way in and he could have made more birdies. And like I say, the bogey on 18 was soft. So long-winded to say, yeah, I don't think he reads these Pioneer greens well. His success on the West Coast has been spotty. He's only won out here twice. And just like Scheffler, the way it's going right now and the way he sounds like he has got the handle on the golf swing and such, Florida, roll on, man. As long as that stuff's coming along, McIlroy will be a part of the mix.
Florida roll on. Yes, I love it. Let's get the big boys bopping for the next couple of weeks and next couple of months. Just a quick note on the rounds of the day. We already talked about most of them. Maverick McNealy's 8 under 64 was the best by 2 strokes. Ludvig and Scottie's 6 under 66 was the second best. And then there were a handful of golfers who shot a 67. Akshay Bhatia, Daniel Berger, Colin Morikawa, Corey Connors, and Lucas Glover. Congratulations all around. We are going to recap the wagers for the week, and I have a bone to pick with producer Josh. We will get to that after a quick word from our partners.
One of golf's elite courses, Quail Hollow, hosts the game's top players at the PGA Championship this May on CBS.
And we're back. All right, we are recapping the wagers for this week. A couple of finishing position victories, an outright victory, a bonus bet victory. Josh, do you have the grid handy? Well, maybe I'm going to have 2 bones to pick. No, I'm not. Okay. This is the updated grid. Mark a push. Patrick Cantlay and Tommy Fleetwood tied. I believe Cantlay
brutal 18.
Bogeyed 18 to drop back into this tie with Tommy Fleetwood. That was actually a two-shot swing, Mark, because Tommy made birdie there.
I'll take it however I can get it, man. Yeah, I tell you what, I thought Fleetwood was going to make a move today because he looks in really good shape. I like Cantlay on the West Coast, but I just had a feeling that Fleetwood was going to, Cantlay was going to play a bit better than Fleetwood. In the end, I'll take it. I'll really take it.
You also had Harris English to finish inside the top 30 at plus 100. He did just that. He has now played Torrey Pines twice this month. He ended up finishing, oh my gosh, T24. I was looking for his name in the top 10. Yeah, he bogeyed 11, 12, and 15, but still good enough there.
Stumbling home. Yeah.
Stumbling home, but he got across the finish line. Patrick, Kevin Yu. Sure, why not? A top 30 for Kevin Yu at plus 150. He finished in a tie for 17th.
Fantastic final round today. I believe early on, I was checking his stats. I think he led from tee to green today, perhaps. Maybe 2 second. Yeah, 4 under today. Got in there. He was playing great all week, just really not getting much out of his rounds. So makes up for the kerfuffle in the matchup department, rolling with Victor Hovland over Ludvig and Hogard. But in my defense, I did call my shot there saying it was not a good bet. So I give myself some grace.
Greg, I want to get your thoughts on Jason Day. You had him to finish inside the top 20. He made the cut, but he didn't. I am so confused by this guy. I don't know what we're going to get. We had well documented how good he'd been from tee to green, and it was the putter that was the problem. This week, he lost 3.5 strokes off the tee. He lost another 2 on approach. He's back to putting below average. I have no grasp on this guy anymore.
Well, it was disappointing for him to lose the driver this week, right? And I had him there for a top 20 largely because of the way he was driving the ball. But in his first 2 rounds, he hit 4 fairways, both of those rounds. That it just makes for an extremely long day. That's basically last in the field. And you're just playing with, you don't give yourself any opportunities to make birdies. And every single par is just a real challenge. So that was really disappointing, just like the rest of my grid. Which you can see all red there. The only thing I got right this week was the winning score. But this is a very disappointing grid.
Hey, you lucky they softened this golf course, Greg, because if it stayed like Saturday, the winning score was going to be 8. It was.
Yeah, but I knew they weren't going to do that.
All right,
What a fool, Greg.
Now, yeah, that was a deep pull. I forgot about that. I wrote it down and forgot about it. I had to check my notes again. Okay, well, here's my bone to pick with producer Josh. Josh, I've just shared my screen. Why don't you throw this little graphic I have up here that I took a screenshot of? Yeah, so this is from about, an hour ago. As they're coming down the home stretch, producer Josh already marked my Ludvig Aberg outright as a loser.
The early call never falls.
The early call. He also marked my Rory or Ludvig to win as a loser, producer Josh, before all the holes had been played. How dare you? Yeah.
Get him. Get him, Rick. As a loser.
As a loser. Yeah. Well, show me the good version. Let's get the grid back in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That is a Ludvig win. That is a Rory or Ludvig to win. I needed this in the worst way possible, and it couldn't happen from a better Swede. My main man.
Speaking of Nordics, how bad was my Rasmus Højgaard pick? And I was crying about that stuff. But I'll stand down. I mean, I'll shut up.
Golf makes zero sense.
No.
It is shocking how difficult this is. Patrick, did you tune in to Live Golf Adelaide to see John Rahm? He made a mini surge on early in the third round, but it was never close enough.
I watched the highlights today. They have a little post-game show, which was interesting. I'll say that much. But no, I did not watch it. I saw Joaquin the Dream win. So good for him. And I saw Los Fireballs also win. So unfortunately, my Rippers were not able to go back-to-back. But it seemed like Rahm was always like 5 strokes behind, right? Like 4 to 5 strokes behind, not really making them feel them. So bummer. I'm lost right now.
Now that the Majestics have extended the longest non-podium streak in Live Golf history, now at 900 some odd days after leading going into the final round and dropping to 5th. Do we need to talk about how a 3-man co-captaincy does not work in this league? Are we ready to have that conversation?
Well, it's interesting because their one non-captain was the guy winning the golf tournament.
Yeah, because the 3 captains are only on the team because they're the captains.
So if you have 3 captains, do you even have 1 captain?
You have 0 captains.
That's so right. I think they need to do some soul searching there. A lot of teams do, but I'm impressed that the Fireballs even won because Legion 13 is a wagon. They're might stacked. Win the rest of the events.
McKibben. So some guys like take a couple of events to get going when they first get to Live. McKibben just rolled on. He is so good.
Almost won.
All right. Quickly here, before I forget, Patrick, you are going to Live Golf tomorrow.
TGO.
No, sorry. Oh my gosh. Live Golf on the break.
That is
breaking news.
An awesome slip. That is an awesome slip, Rick. That might be the funniest thing you've ever done.
It just owns all my headspace. You're going to TGL tomorrow. They are having not 1, not 2, but 3 matches on President's Day and a 4th on Tuesday. So they're sprinting now.
Yeah, I'm going to the 1 o'clock, my Atlanta Drive versus LAGC. So excited to see that. I think we're seated. It's I'm wearing civilian clothes there.
No, because so that you could buy your Atlanta Drive stuff when you get there.
Hanging out with the Gen Pop. I think we're seated behind. We're like center green, so pretty good seats. Thank you, TGL. And I'm going to be writing an article about my experience there. Going to do West Coast awards as well tomorrow, like kind of funny awards. I think if I can get it past the editor. So yeah, big day tomorrow for us.
The Drive play. LA, then they got to go a doubleheader, the first ever doubleheader. They got to go back to back. They got to play against the Bay at 4 o'clock, and then the Bay runs it back against Boston Common at 7 p.m. And then Tiger plays Tuesday against New York Golf Club.
You think the Cat will add a Florida event?
No.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
Okay.
Augusta, Mark, right?
He was out on the range before play, talking, just watching, and he was walking with a noticeable limp. It's like, I'm not trying to dramatize, but he hasn't played for a while. So and I've watched him at TGL, and he looks okay, but you can certainly see how he's favoring the one leg. And I looked at this going, maybe it's a little rougher even than what he's leading people to believe. So I feel like he's out for a bit still.
2 events on the major tours next week. Neither of them are in the United States, gentlemen. Do we know where they are?
Mexico.
Greg says Mexico. That's the Mexico Open. We're going to have our tournament. Yeesh. We're going to do our DFS preview on Monday, our mega preview pod on Tuesday, and the DP World Tour is playing
DP World Tour is playing in
Very far away from Mexico. How far from Mexico to this place?
They're playing in Turkey.
Nope. I have to. It's so far that I have to convert kilometers to miles.
They're playing in Malaysia.
9,300 miles away from Mexico. They are playing in Kenya.
Oh, the magical Kenya Open?
That's the one.
My brother, that was my brother's first professional win. Was at the Kenya.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
How far is Kenya? How far is Kenya from South Africa?
It's a long way, bro. It's like 8 hours flying.
Oof.
Africa's
I feel like
big.
I was gonna say everything's far. I feel like everything's far from South Africa.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, questions, concerns that we want to chat about now before we roll it over to Mexico?
It was a fantastic West Coast swing. I was just kind of reminiscing some as I got back to the hotel room. Great golf courses as always. There were killer storylines, and we had some of the stars show up in the signature events. So it was a really cool time of it. But it's like for us at CBS, it was kind of like the last day of school, and everyone was counting down a little bit. And now there's all happy faces, a few weeks off, and then back at it for Florida.
What's the next event?
Well, Mexico, obviously, and then my next event is the API for PGA Tour Live.
Okay, got it.
What's-
API.
CBS is done till Augusta.
The Masters.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because it'll be March Madness season before you know it.
Yep.
Got it. If you like,
one shining moment.
Roll Tide, baby.
Oh,
if you like
your one shining moment.
unique and international winners, Greg, we've had nothing but. So Hideki wins the Century. Nick Taylor, Canadian, wins the Sony. Sepp Straka, representing, of course, Austria.
Alabama.
That's the American Express. Harris English, that's your American. Rory McIlroy, Northern Ireland. Thomas Dietrich, Belgium, first ever do it. And then the Swede, Ludvig Oberg. It is, as I've heard, an international game.
Yes. I wonder if Keegan Bradley is panicking at this point.
Yeah, he should be shaking in his boots.
Hey, Greg, remember when the pundits just a few years ago were going, oh, the Ryder Cup, it's going to be one-sided for the next foreseeable future. I mean, Europe are done. Remember that, lot?
Yeah, I do. I may even have been part of that. Where are these players coming from? They always find a way. So it's been incredible. We'll see what happens going forward with the rest of the season, but a lot of the American players haven't really been in great form either. It's not like they're just not winning. They're just the Collins and the Scotties and the players like that. They haven't gotten themselves really close enough.
The two best, Greg, hurt themselves. We're still waiting on Xander.
Right. You haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, he said he told Shoepak API.
Okay.
That's a long way into the season to get started. If he's anything like Scottie Scheffler, where it takes a couple events to play your way in, that's like Master. You got 2 events before Masters. It's concerning.
Yeah, he's probably going to have to sprint. He's probably going to have to play API, Players, Valspar. That would be 3 in a row.
And then take off, and then play
take off Houston, take off Valero, play the Masters, play the RBC Heritage.
If he can,
if his
play
body
3 in a row,
right? Barring any setbacks, of course.
So that's too bad. But I'm sure by the time we get to Bethpage Black, he'll be roaring and ready to go.
Well, I hope so, Greg. It's 7
It is
months
interesting.
away.
Like the U.S. team, like the back half of that team, who knows what's going to happen there? A lot of players and a lot of question marks.
I at one point was like, oh, this European Ryder Cup team with Justin Rose and Sergio Garcia, and like these guys are so old. There's no youth contingent coming. Well, Victor Hovland, the Højgaards, Ludvig, yeah, they're coming. The young guys were coming. They're here. It's scary.
The British are coming.
The Euros are here. They're not. All right. Anything else? Going once.
Enjoy your time off, Mark.
Going twice. Sold. We will do it all again on Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday of next week. Big thanks to producer Josh, who, despite his huge mistake today. We do appreciate him doing all the hard work behind the scenes. Mark Immelman at Mark_Immelman. Patrick McDonald at P McDonald CBS. Greg DuCharme at The Real GFD. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.